It's June 17. Good afternoon, Tony Datino. June 17th, it's another Friday. They just seem to keep coming faster than we can slow down the calendar or the clock. I want to talk today about an article I was reading at Cocoa Beach yesterday that was in the current issue of AARP magazine. And the article was all about the concern or the interest that people have as they are getting older about their health and their finances and their well-being and the concerns they have. And they had these survey results that were broken out into 18 to 39 and 60 to 70 and 70 to 80 and 80 to 90. And so it was an interesting survey. Fascinating to be able to get to talk to some of the people that were in there population, but the important thing was, as it just comes back to confirm what we've been finding out as we go out into different groups of seniors and or community organizations and do the presentation on what we call Memory 101, which is what are some of the myths of memory and what are some of the skills and or things that one could do if they wanted to partake in their own brain fitness that they could then take control over. And so, to no surprise to anyone that's been listening to my Live with Tony, the continued concern that people have, especially as they start going into their 50s, 60s, is their mental fitness. And so, in this research they've discovered, nobody wants to live older, 70, 80, 90 years old, if they lose their mental faculties. If they can't recognize their family, if they don't know who their kids were, they don't know who their spouse is, and they lose the ability to know who their being is and their history thereof and their ability to communicate in the present, then there's not a whole lot of interest to living to be 90 years old or whatever popular or whatever age that they wish to live in. So we keep talking about this in the mental fitness and cognitive awareness. And what we keep trying to say is we're learning more and more about some of the factors and elements that can make a difference and at least help minimize some of these impacts of worry and losing our cognitive capabilities. And what's been so exciting to me is that the science just keeps coming out and updating. So it's red hot and heavy. It's like, wow. And how do you stay up with this and then distill it into the pieces enough to give it to people in ways where they can grab it, they can take little bites of it, and they can actually do some things that will make a difference. And the challenge that we have is there haven't been large groups of people that would be in study groups that have been in research studies that have had the opportunity of utilizing all of these factors that then would prove to people like, wow, getting some exercise, be it aerobic or anaerobic, some flexibility, some balance, that has shown us to add X number of years to people's lives, or it has shown them to minimize some of the illnesses that a normal group of people would have. There haven't been studies that have been shown that talk about the impact, though I see more and more coming on social interactions and how we're so hardwired to be socially active, and therefore when we got restricted, things about us on COVID, and kids got even restricted in terms of what they did. We saw the impact on what their mental state was and their mental fitness. So we probably have more on the social interactions than anything else. But there's so many different areas that the research world has been exploring over the last 10 years or so, that to stay up with this and then have enough of a base of people and years of experience that prove to people in a very pragmatic and scientific way that here are some things we've now learned because of research grants and studies done that do make a huge difference in people's life expectancy. I think you would find more people doing that. You'd find more people being committed to regimentations of the factors of what makes a difference in our long-term cognitive fitness. The other thing that we're finding is in some of the seminars that we do is people come to this with that ray of hope, but they don't want to talk about it. What I learned in my corporate consulting work is that many executives had a problem remembering different data elements or different names of people or how they were going to absorb all the things they had to absorb in their jobs, but they didn't want to talk about it. They were very closed-minded, not closed-minded, they were very closed about their communication networks and basically saying, God, I've got this problem of not remembering people's names, or I got this problem of, I forget where I put things sometimes, or I've got these issues, I've got all this data that I'm getting given and trying to absorb and make decisions from. Sometimes I have a hard time trying to pull it all together. And so people at the senior level that worry about this have an anxiety over it, but they don't want to talk about it. And so it's one of these fears and anxieties that they have and these stresses that they've got within their life that they keep to themselves. And therefore there's not a venting of it, there's not an exploration of it that builds in a community or builds within a social sphere of people, which is sad because as people get to talk about it, one of the things we saw in the Brain Fitness Academy is as the seniors were in the fitness academy and they shared some of their concerns or points or through the different exercises we did, they built a camaraderie, they built a support network around themselves to where they have this group of people that supported one another, and therefore they had a freedom to express their thoughts and not feel weird or not feel isolated, not feel like, oh God, they were unnatural in some flavor. So they were able to share some of these things with their peer groups in a way that was freeing. And it built a level of interaction and communication that gave them all a feeling of, God, I'm not alone. I'm not the unique, weird freak of the group. There are other people. My mom always used to say, misery loves company. Now, it's an interesting way of speaking. It says, God, I don't want to feel like I'm the only one that's got this problem. And that's not a bad thing. And so sometimes it's important for us to share some of our concerns. So my mother was one of these people that felt that, if you share your problems with other people, sometimes you may learn something that can be helpful to you. So there wasn't an embarrassment in sharing. I'm worried about losing my memory. There wasn't an embarrassment. God, well, maybe somebody read a book. Maybe somebody saw a YouTube video. Maybe somebody has figured out a way to maintain some of their cognitive fitness, and therefore had a chance to discuss it and talk to people and say, you know what, there's a branch you can go grab onto. There's some hope that of things you might be able to do that can help make a difference. And so here's this worry that people have and this fear, which is the worst part of this, is they're feeling that they're locked in and they've got to keep it to themselves and they can't express it to anybody else, which then restricts their ability to go find hope and a level of learning and something new that can make a difference to them. And that's the point of the USA Memory Championship, which we're moving along with. And July 30th is coming for the qualifying events. October 1st is coming for the final events that we'll have here in Winter Park, Florida, on October 1st. It's getting people to realize there's hope for everybody. There's something we can all do that can make that little tweak and that little difference. And the good or bad of it is we're the pioneers. It's today's generation of people that are really the ones that are in the process of studying. And I always think of what Tony Buzan was saying to me many, many years ago. And he was one of the great intellects and the great minds about studying the human mind is, my goodness, what we're learning every year just continues to tell us what we thought we knew about our brain was being proven to be wrong, and therefore grabbing those elements that are the corrections of and the research to can make a huge difference in life expectancy and the quality and the wholeness of a person's life. And that's what this is all about in terms of what we do with our Brain Fitness Academy, with the Brain Power Series, with the USA Memory Championship, and with the collaborations and the associations that we're making as we're going forward in the year 2022. So with that, it's weekend time. Have a great weekend and be safe and don't get sunburned. I know we got some hot weather coming across the country, and we shall see you back here on Monday. Even though it's a holiday, we'll be back out here.